All right, welcome in. This is the Front Row Podcast. I'm Coach Mark Gottfried, and like I've said just about every time I've started one of these, I'm having an absolute blast. This is a lot of fun, and today I am really excited because I've got a guest on that I've gotten to know here in the last few years who I have a great deal of respect for and I admire, and such a great person, but with a great history. And so I'm going to give you the brief kind of introduction, and we'll kind of get into everything as we get going. But Ed Ratliff played on the 72 Olympic team, our men's basketball Olympic team. And for those of you that have good memories, that's our Olympic team that we all will go to our graves knowing that we got robbed of the gold medal. At that time, Russia got a few extra chances. We'll talk about that here in the next little bit. But Ed Ratliff played high school basketball in Columbus, Ohio, at Columbus East. I'm pretty sure I have this right. I think his high school team over a 3-year period went 71-1. How about that? 71-1. Came out to California at Long Beach State, played for Jerry Tarkanian, was a 6th pick in the NBA draft by the Houston Rockets, and just had an absolutely marvelous career. And I don't know if he still is a scratch golfer, but I know at one time I think you were a scratch golfer.
Not too bad, yeah.
Not too bad. But Eddie, welcome. I'm glad you were able to join us today. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it. Thanks.
So let's start and talk a little bit about, growing up in Columbus, Ohio. You were, through the 60s, and, obviously your teams were phenomenal. And to go 71-1, state champions.
Yep, state champs. Yep.
And I got to believe, I guess the obvious question, you and I have talked about it privately, but I want you to tell us a little bit about it. But you're playing high school basketball in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State is you probably hit a driver from where your school is. You could probably hit one real well and hit the campus. And but Ohio State didn't really recruit you.
Well, they did. Actually, they did recruit me.
Okay.
I made a visit up there. Matter of fact, when Kareem was a senior at UCLA, they invited me up for that Ohio State and UCLA game. So they did recruit me. I just didn't feel comfortable because of Fred Taylor, the coach up there, real good coach. But he had one black, which is Jimmy Clemens, and another black coming in, Ed Smith. He never really had any black guys in there. So we heard he didn't really recruit a lot of black players. And in Columbus, there's a ton of black players that can play. And so he did recruit me, and then Florida State recruited me real heavy, and I was going to go to Florida State with U Durham, but Ohio State was there. And I played baseball also, and during our state championship baseball game, or right before the game, Woody Hayes, I became very close with Woody Hayes. All the banquets we went to, so I love Woody. Well, he brought me into his office on our final game of their baseball championship, and he talked to me. And he told me, he says, if you come to Ohio State, he says, I know a lot of guys don't get along with Fred Taylor, so I'll take care of you if you come here. Just play for Fred. And so that really almost got me. I like Woody.
So you're in Ohio, and before we talk about your decision to come to Long Beach State, you guys had probably one of the great runs in high school basketball in the state of Ohio, maybe one of the best. But and the reason I'm pretty familiar with it, my dad was a high school basketball coach in the state of Ohio, and he was bouncing around from Lima, Ohio to Sandusky, Ohio, and he ended up coaching at Ashland College, which is now Ashland University. But so in that period of time, my family was, in Ohio, and so just kind of listening to my father, I could kind of get a lot of the stories about how good you guys were and the players that were on your team. You guys had a lot of talent, and you did a lot of winning.
Well, we had talent. We had a lot of good players. My senior year, we had 3 of us who went Division I. Bo Lamar went to Southwest Louisiana, which is Lafayette, Louisiana now. Nick Connors went to University of Illinois, and I ended up going to Long Beach State. And then my junior year, we had Nick and I were there, and Bo Lamar wasn't there yet because Bo was at North High School. And in Ohio, back in the time when I played, there was no – you had to live in the district. And if you didn't live in the district, you couldn't play there. And so Bo Lamar was at North High School, and then we were at East. And we still had Nicky and I there my junior year. My junior year. And in my sophomore year, we only played 3 years in high school back then. And my sophomore year, we were like, Randy Smith was 6'7". We went 6'7", 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", 6'4". That was back in 1967. And that's the year we got beat. We were 21-0. We're number one in the state. And I don't know, the guys took it lightly. I don't know what happened. But Jimmy Clements from Lyndon McKinley, he went to Ohio State. They beat us in that 43-34. Not that I remember.
So I got to ask you the question because as a coach, obviously I'm an old coach, but I listened to your speech when they inducted you into the Ohio High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And you really gave a lot of praise to your teammate Nick Cannon.
Nick Connors. Nick Connors.
Why was that?
You know what? Nick and I started in 10th grade. I remember getting there at East High School, and I went from Champion Junior High School, and I was probably the best player in the North. He was probably the best player in the South in junior high school. And so when I got to East, I knew I was going to start. Well, I was planning on starting. And I walk in, I'd never played against Nick in the summertime because we're different because I play baseball all summer. So when I walk in, there's Nick, and we're looking eye to eye. He's 6'5". And I said, I'm starting. He goes, I'm starting too. I'm thinking, well, we both can't start. I think, where are you going to start? That's what I'm thinking. So we start playing ball, and Nick went outside to shoot a jump shot. I go, well, you're inside, I'm outside. So we both started.
We're good.
And that's how we got, and then we got along so well that he had the same idea like me. We got beat our sophomore year. We got together and we said, we're not going to lose another game. We don't care. We're not losing another game because it hurt so bad to lose, and I don't like to lose anyway. So I said, no way we're going to lose.
Talk to me about what a thrill it would have been for a high school athlete in Ohio, now in the state of Ohio with the Schottenstein Center, the big arena where Ohio State plays, but for years and years and years and for forever until they built the new arena, the state high school basketball championship was at St. John's Arena, right there on campus with them old, kind of go straight up, and wooden bleachers and wooden everywhere. But for a high school guy to have that opportunity to play there, what was that like?
That was a great place, especially at Ohio State, because I watched Ohio State play all the time on TV. So I knew all the players just from TV. So going there to play, it was like, oh my God, we're going like big time. I mean, this is like, that's what you think, because it's college. And we were there playing 2 years in a row. My junior and senior year, we won there twice. And so we had a chance to really enjoy it. But we played on campus a lot of times, not at the arena, but they had different gyms and stuff on campus. We all meet up there to play.
So talk about now you've won a state championship, and now you're getting recruited, and you got a lot of places you could have gone to. But you end up coming to Long Beach State, and at that time, really America really didn't know who Jerry Tarkanian was at that time, but he later became obviously at UNLV. But talk about that and your relationship with Tark and playing for Long Beach, getting recruited by Tark. How was that?
Well, yeah, Tark became Tark later on. But in high school, he called me. When he called, I tell people he left his number. And I'm in high school, and I'm not a very bright guy. So I'm looking, and I see his name, and I see his number, but it's his name. I couldn't pronounce his name. I said, who is this guy? I never heard of him because, you heard all the college guys. He was not one of them. And so I didn't call him back because, he didn't get hold of me. So then later on, a guy that I played in the 10th grade with, Vance Carr, was out in California. And he was sitting with Tark at wherever they were doing. I don't know how he got hooked up with Tark. But Tark was recruiting Bruce Clark that was going to USC. And my friend Vance says, Coach, I have someone better than Bruce Clark. And Tark said, no one's better than Bruce. No, I played with him. He's better than Bruce. And that's what he's telling me. And so what happened was Vance said, I'll call him. Tark's calling. So Vance called me, and I get on the phone, and he said, hey, what's up, Vance? We're talking. He said, well, Coach here wants to talk to you. I said, who's that? His name is Tarkanian. I said, I don't know him. He said, well, he called you, but he never called him back. I couldn't pronounce his name, for one thing. So he starts laughing, and I said, put him on the phone. So Tark gets on the phone, and he starts talking to me and stuff, and would you like to come out for a visit? Well, Tark has never seen me play. Would you like to come out for a visit? California, Ohio? Yes. When? So, free trip to California, come on. Because I remember in my books at school, you see the palm trees. That's what you see. So I said, I'd be out there. So he invited me out to L.A. and to Long Beach, and he flew me out. I tell people this, and it's a funny story, but I remember when I got off the plane, because we were poor. We were 6 kids. We were, from the ghetto with no money. My clothes probably didn't match, but they were clean. I just couldn't afford anything. So when Tark looks at me, he gave me that look like, really, this guy can play? I can just look at his, I can tell that in his face. They're like, seriously. I mean, I go and talk to him and stuff. He brings me out to Long Beach to show me where we're going to play and all that. But when he introduced me to people, it wasn't like, hey, Mark, this is Ed. He's from Columbus. He's really, no. It was like, Mark, this is Ed Ratliff. He's from Ohio. And it's just like, that's all it was. And so I said, well, I know I'm not coming. I know he's not going to recruit me here where he's talking. So, I play baseball. So he took me to Baylor Field, took me downtown to see the arena. This is where we're going to play. And he told me the gym, but this is where we practice. But we played down the arena. And so he took me around. So this was Saturday. Get up. He goes, hey, the guys are playing ball. You want to play? And I brought my tennis shoes in. Every trip I went to, if guys are playing, I play. I play.
Always want to play.
I don't care where it is. So I said, I'll go play. So he drives me up to wherever we go play. And I think it's up by maybe UCLA. It's up 405. I remember that. So I go play, and the guys I'm playing with, I don't know who they are, but I join in, I play. Well, coming back down to 405 freeway, I'll never forget this, down to 405 freeway, driving down, he offered me a scholarship about 20 times. I swear, I start laughing to myself because I go, he didn't even want to talk to me now. I must have played well. So that was pretty funny.
That's pretty amazing. Did you, you had a great career at Long Beach. Did you enjoy playing for him?
Tark was a great guy, and you know what? He's a lot better coach than what people think. Mm-hmm. People don't realize how good a coach he was. Mm-hmm. He ended up playing a 1-2-2 at Long Beach State and running Rebels in Vegas. He changed his whole style. Mm-hmm. But while we were playing at Long Beach State, we played UCLA in the regional finals. They had Wicks, Rowe, and Patterson, Bibby, and Booker. They had a good team, and we had our team. And Denny Crum was told Coach Wooden that, Coach, they're good, but we don't have a problem with them. Mm. At halftime, we were up by 11. We were kicking their butt. Mm. Well, Coach put a defense in that he is 1-2-2 on one side and a 2-3 on the other side. And Coach Wood never figured it out.
Wow.
And the reason he did that because, as you know, a 1-2-2, the guy on the opposite wing drops down for the rebound. If there's a 6-foot guard on that side, there's no rebounding. So he made sure that on the 1-2-2 side, I was on the bottom rebound, and the 2-3, I was on the bottom of the rebound. So he did this. I mean, it's like unbelievable defense, and they didn't figure it out. And they beat us 57-55, not that I remember. But that's the only game I fouled out of.
Wow.
They fouled me out at the end. I didn't foul, but they called a foul on me.
Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
From a distance, and I got to know Coach Tarkanian through the years. I was at UCLA. They were at Vegas, and we recruited against each other a lot. And then after he retired, he actually came back. I was coaching at Alabama. He came back and brought some guys from Fresno State. They wanted to watch an Alabama football game. So we had a great weekend where he brought some guys in and my staff, and we just had a lot of fun. But some of the guys I've talked to over the years would always say they really loved playing for him because they liked him so much as a person. Like he had a big heart, and the guys that I talked to they would always say that they really felt like he really cared about them. How would you agree? Would you if you described him as a coach in that regard, his relationship with the players?
To me, he loved the black players, mm-hmm. and he had some white players, but he loved the black players. And I remember when I first saw him and getting together and how he was acting and stuff and his reactions and stuff. I go, is Tark black? Is he black? Because the way he acted, but he's a great guy, and I can see why everybody liked him because he was very personal. He showed he cared for you. It wasn't like, hey, you play, but he really showed he cared. In practice, he was a big time winner. If you come late, he's not going to have you sit out a game. He's going to make you run. He said, you're not going to miss a game and mess up my record.
That's right.
And mess up this team. That's how he felt, and that's what he did. You're going to run, so he'll punish you. But Tark was a great coach, and what a good guy. What a great guy.
I enjoyed. I never obviously didn't get to know him like you did, but I just enjoyed him all those years. And I'm like you. I always felt like he never truly got the respect. No. As a basketball mind kind of guy that, some guys, they run the Princeton offense and they make a backdoor layup and people say, oh, what a great coach, of all time. And the guy ends up, he's 10 and 20 every year, but he can run a backdoor play. And so everybody buys into that and gets excited. Where Tark, he did have really good players and he understood that. But boy, guys played hard, defended, really defended. Yeah. I mean, got in a stance and really got after you and made it hard for people to score. And so I thought all that, he's one of the best there ever was.
Oh, he made you play defense. I tell you that. At Long Beach State, we played the zone, but we played hard, and he made you make sure that, and everybody bought into what he's doing. You practice hard. I mean, when the game time came, it's like, oh man, I'm glad the game's here. 'Cause now it's easier. Practice is so hard, and he makes you run, and if you don't do it right, you do it over again, do it over again, do it over again. So he makes sure you hit every step that you're doing. When you go out and close out against the zone, you had to close out right. You just didn't run out there. Right. Oh, do it again. I mean, so you had to keep doing it and doing it and do it till you got it right. So in the game time, you do it that way. So yeah, he didn't get the accolades like he should have because he was really good.
So talk to me about, so you're at Long Beach State. You know, it's not one of the big powerhouse schools out there, the big blue bloods like North Carolina or, Kentucky. But talk to me about the invite for the Olympic team in 1972. How'd that come about?
It's not one of the blue bloods. We're not.
Well,
When I was there, we played. We were. After that, we're
I'm not talking about the quality of the team. I'm talking about the perception of the program.
And that's exactly right. We weren't big time like everybody else. We're mid-major, but we happened to get the great players, and we can play with anybody. And nobody wanted to play us.
Right.
They just not want to play us. But when the Olympics came around, I didn't go to the World Games or Pan American Games because I was playing baseball, and I just was not involved in basketball except for playing on my own. I don't think I was ever invited. I never looked into it, so it didn't matter. But the Olympics came around, and me playing All-American, they said, you had to go try out. I said, I don't want to go. I mean, I'm not going to make the team, and I'm not going to make the team, so I didn't want to go try out. So it's almost like they kind of made me go try out. I never thought. It's hard to say because people think I'm crazy when I say this, but I'm being honest. I never thought I was that good playing wise. I never thought I was ever a great player. I worked so hard to get where I was at. I mean, my thing was I'm going to outwork you. When you're at home, because my friend of mine, my college roommate, our manager passed away, but a lot of people didn't know on the weekends and stuff, everybody's going around partying. At night at 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, we had the key. We were going to the gold mine with the gym and go shoot. He'd rebound for I shoot every night.
Wow.
And people didn't know that. I'm going to outwork you. I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing because you're going to start doing it and catch up to me. So I'm not going to tell you. So I said, I didn't want to try for the Olympics. And they said, you have to go. So I go down there, and we're in Colorado Springs. And there's like 70, 80 guys, 60, 70 guys, whatever it was. And a guy named Billy Newton was my roommate. And he played with Pete Maravich. So for me, I had a great time. He told me all these stories about Pete. I'm like in heaven in this, because I couldn't play with the crap, but I was enjoying all the stories. So we're playing, and so finally, when it finally got done, we're going 3 a days. I mean, it really was a pain. It was tough, and the eating wasn't very good, and sleeping wasn't. Just after I get tired of it, and so I couldn't wait for it to be over with. I love playing. I played hard every day, and I love playing. But when it's over with, I was happy. Yeah. And so he says, "Let's go see who made the team." I said, "Fig, I'm not going to make it. So I don't want to go. You go. Let's go look and see." I said, "You go look." I mean, he said, "Let's go." So he talked me into it. We walk over to it, and he looks up there, and he goes, "Oh, he's all excited." And so I said, "Oh man, congratulations, you made it. Good. I'm so happy for you." He said, "No, you made it, fool. I didn't make it." I was all excited for him. I go, "Oh, I didn't even know." So yeah, and that's how I made it. But I never thought I was ever that good. I really, I don't know why. Just because I've worked so hard to get what I was doing, and yet I was never satisfied how I played. I just always wanted to be better.
Had you ever been out of the country prior to then?
I've been to
prior to that,
Indiana.
Prior to Indiana.
Like I haven't been anywhere. Yeah, I told you I'm from the ghetto. We didn't go anywhere. I think I lived in Columbus, and I grew up in Bell Fountain, which is about 50 miles away. And then my mother and father got divorced. My dad lived about 25 miles away. So our trip was to Delaware, Ohio, and back to Columbus. That's the trip where I've been to. So I did take visits in college to Louisiana. I took a trip to Florida. So I did take those trips there. So to me, they're out of the country from out of Columbus. But I've never been anywhere.
So now you're getting ready to go out of the country.
Yep.
And you're going to put the USA on your chest.
And that's a big deal.
How's that feel?
That's a big deal. Yeah. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you do it. You can talk about it all you want, but when you have that across your chest and everybody's going for you, it's a totally different feeling. It really is. I mean, it's one of those things that My mother taught me so many things coming up, and she taught me how to respect people and how to be respected and things to do or not to do. And when that uniform got on, there's no way I want to do anything to disgrace the USA. There's no way. I mean, there's no way I want to disgrace it. I wasn't going to do anything wrong. I wasn't getting in trouble. I wasn't doing that. And so while we were playing, they always checked you after each game. Each person gets called in, whatever, and they go through and make sure you're not taking drugs or something. So I'm there, and like 3 straight games, they call me. 3. I'm like, so I want to talk to one of our guys. So how come every time I'm getting called? And the guy said, I'm glad it's you because we know you're clean. I never forget that. I never forget that. I said, okay, yeah, but yeah, that's every time, yeah.
So I had Jim Abbott played baseball for the Angels and Yankees, and he was on our '88 baseball team, Olympic team, and they won the gold. But I remember him talking the same thing. And then I coached with Jay Wright, who won the 2 national championships at Villanova. We coached our Pan Am team and down in Rio de Janeiro. But it was the same feeling for me, Ed. I could just remember when they gave us all the gear.
Yep.
You know, and you get all this gear, and you get a bag, and
Yep.
you get T-shirts and shorts and a polo, and you got all your stuff in this big bay, all your gear. But I just remember taking it out, and even for me, I wasn't playing, but I was coaching. But anyway, the thrill, or maybe the honor that you feel right away, that you are representing your country.
And there's all the stuff right there.
It's really an interesting thing.
Yep. There it is.
And then tell me about this one, because I'll tell you, for me, walking in to the dining hall, we were in Rio, and all the athletes from, a lot of the countries were there. We all kind of stayed in an Olympic village. But, you walk in there and you've got the track athletes and the volleyball, and they're all there. And as you're walking around, you're saying, these are some of the best in the world now.
Yes, yeah.
Probably are the best in their sport.
Especially in that other countries, yes.
And so for you as an Olympian, did you feel some of that as well?
Well, you walk in, they told us that Cuba, Russia, and somebody else, Brazil maybe, they don't like Americans, so they won't talk to you. And we didn't talk to them either because we didn't speak their language.
Right.
But going into the dining hall where you go eat in the village was really nice. But I don't know if you remember a guy named Chris Taylor. He is a wrestler about 400 pounds.
I don't know. I can't remember that one.
Yeah, he is a wrestler, a big-time guy. And he was, we became friends. I mean, he's a real skinny guy myself, and Chris is this big. And so we always see each other and stuff, and he always chased me, and so we laugh and go in the dining room, and we eat. We eat different times. And I remember a couple times eating with him, and I'm looking at my plate. I look over his plate. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I'm like, who else is going to sit with you, dude? That's all I know. Who's sitting with you? But I became friends with a couple guys like that, and that's the good part about it.
Yeah.
The teammates were close, and we talk all the time, but to meet other athletes, that was kind of fun.
And, people, the basketball fan, the basketball junkie will remember the names. Maybe the general person that maybe listens won't. But, that team ends up, Doug Collins, obviously, I think he ended up as the number 1 overall pick. Philadelphia and had a great career. Coached the Bulls later with Jordan. Tom Burleson.
7'4" guy.
Tom McMillan, awfully good player.
Good, strange guy, but a great guy, but strange.
Very strange. Mike Banham.
Yeah, Mike Banham from St. Joe. Mike was a good player.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know about some great players now.
Yeah, Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer from Minnesota.
Yeah, he went to Cleveland. Very good player.
Phenomenal player.
Kevin Joyce.
South Carolina. Wow, another one.
Real good player.
Great player.
Yeah, real good player. He can play. And the other guys we had Jimmy Forbes. He's out of Texas, El Paso. He was alternate after John Brown got hurt. We had Dwight Jones from University of Houston. Tommy Henderson from Hawaii. So we had some players. We had, and they recruit all these guys that can run. And Coach Ivan played a slow down game. And that, that hurt us right there.
I've often, again, as a coach, one thing I've always learned is coaching. I try not to criticize other coaches because coaching's hard.
It's real hard.
And so I'm very careful. But I can imagine the way his teams played in college, and then you have this group of guys that you have in the Olympics. It's kind of I mean, the style just because you guys had some guys that could really get up and down the floor and play and you still, when I go back and look through, I went through and looked at basically all the games you guys played, the games that your teams played. A lot of people forget because they remember the last game,
right?
They remember the Russian game, but they forget that really nobody for about 7 or 8 games or whatever you had to play. I think you had to play in 9 altogether, but 8 games. Nobody really even came close.
No.
I mean, one team, I think it was Brazil, played you to 15-point game.
Yep.
But you beat Japan by 50. Then you
Yeah.
beat Italy by 30.
Yeah.
Then you beat, it was one after another after another. It wasn't even close.
Well,
the game.
in those games, we kind of let us go a little bit. Even he slowed down, he let us go. But sometimes he wanted like 10 passes or something. And I've never said anything bad about Coach Iba at all. And I never will say anything bad. He's a great coach. It was just past his time for us. That's all. And I like Coach Iba. Right. And John Bach was the other one, and the Bear from El Paso was our third coach. Don Haskins, and they all were great guys. I love Don Haskins. I used to get to be real close with him. But Coach Iba was just out of his style. Right. It really was, but like nothing bad. He's great knowledge of the game.
Right.
But you have these guys that love to run, and you play this slow down game. And I remember one game we were playing, and Doug and I started all the games. So this time we were sitting out. We didn't start. We're sitting out next to each other, and this other team put a zone in, and guys aren't shooting; they're passing the ball. And he goes, "Doug, get in there. If you're over, take the shot." I'll never forget this. I wish Doug was here. Doug gets up. He goes in the game. The first pass he gets, he goes up to shoot it. And as he's up like this, the coach said, "Get him out." so Doug comes over next to me, goes, like almost cries, "Did he tell me to shoot it?" I said, "Yes, he did." I'll never forget that. Doug, we still laugh about that now. But yeah, he went for a jump shot. He took him out right away. He wanted more passes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, but Henry Iba, he's a good man. He really
one
was.
of the best ever.
Yeah.
How was it as a young black player with Don Haskins? Because a lot of people forget it became later Texas El Paso. Exactly. At the time, Texas Western. Yep. Mm-hmm. And, Texas Western ends up going to the national championship game against Kentucky. And Kentucky's all white. Texas Western's, all black players. But for a young black player, I'm guessing there had to be a tremendous amount of respect and excitement to be with him.
Well, I love Coach Haskins. We call him the Bear.
Right.
Well, Jimmy Forbes played with him, so I got to know Jimmy real well. So we used to talk about Don Haskins. Uh-huh. And so every time when I played with the Rockets, when I drive home, I drive through El Paso, and I would always every time stop and spend time with him. Every time. I loved the Bear.
Wow.
And we'd come in and laugh and talk, and I stayed there for a long time. So every time I go through there, I always stop to see him. So that's how much respect I had for him.
That's amazing.
And I like I say, he's one of those guys that I thought he treated everybody the same and really well. Mm-hmm. I couldn't say anything good or anything bad about him. Mm-hmm. But the good part of it, he really was a good guy. He knew basketball, and he treated everybody fair. Oh, he was tough at times. You can bet that. Yeah. That's why I call him the Bear.
Yeah.
But when he got on you, he got on you because you did it wrong. It wasn't like he's, because I'm black. It wasn't anything like that.
Right.
He didn't care what color you were. If you did it wrong, he'd let you know. Right. But he's straightened out. He'd praise you. Wow. So I like the Bear. Yep.
Yeah. So you're playing now in the Olympics, and you're rolling through, and you're beating everybody. And kind of help me set the stage, because I'm going to give you tell you how, my age is going to show here. But how about this? 1972, Ed, I was 8 years old.
Oh, I was a couple years older than you. I was 12. Go ahead.
But as an 8-year-old, I can remember watching that game. Yeah. I watched the game with my father, who was a high school basketball coach, and we watched the game. So as the game is playing out, United States is playing Soviet Union at that time. And people, you got to remember, back in that era, it was still kind of the Cold War.
It was a Cold War. You're exactly right.
Between United States and Russia, and there wasn't, it was like the absolute enemy. They're the enemy, and there's no way they're going to beat us, and that kind of thing. But you had the two big monsters playing against each other right there in that game. So I can remember it. I was 8 years old, and I remember coming towards the end of the game. I want you to tell the story. I'm not doing, but Doug Collins ends up getting fouled.
Yeah.
And kind of walk me through that, if you can remember, kind of at the end of the game.
You're right. It was a Cold War, and I tell you what, and I remember all the other events that was going on, and all the Russians got whatever it came down to judging, the Russians got it. Mm-hmm. Chris Taylor, the wrestler I was talking about, he was in a wrestling match, and they gave it to the Russian. He actually won. A boxer, Jesse Valdez, out of Houston, Texas. I got to go to Jesse real well. He was boxing. He was winning. They actually threw things on the ring when actually they said he lost to the Russian. He ended up quitting boxing because it hurt him so bad because he won. So everything was a Cold War thing back then. So when we're playing the Russians, we were down, and we end up almost like telling Coach Ivy we're pressing. It's almost like we're doing ourselves
We're
stuff.
taking over.
So we did. So we start pressing, and we came all the way back. And I came out of the game, and a couple guys went in for me there at the time. And then Doug steals the ball and he gets fouled, and he goes in. He gets knocked under the
Really hard, by the way.
yeah. He got hit
into the backstop.
He got fouled pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I said, "There's no way," because Doug and I were roommates in the Olympics. Yeah. We got to be really close. I said, "There's no way he's not going to shoot it. I don't care if he's standing on one leg. Doug, that's how he was.
Right.
Same way." So, and I knew he was going to make it. I wouldn't even worry about him making the shots. I just knew he was. And so he gets up there, and in international ball, and I don't know how it is now, but back then at the time, you couldn't call timeout after the second free throw is made. You have to call timeout before you attempt the free throws, because once a shot is attempted, made or missed, the ball's in play.
Right.
So you can't call timeout.
Right.
So before the shots were taken, they said they called timeout, hit the buzzer or whatever, but it didn't work. That's what they said. So when Doug makes the 2 free throws.
That's our first problem right there.
Exactly.
We said we're going to call timeout, but we actually never put it in. All right.
And so what happened, so after we made the 2 free throws, there's no timeout call. So when they threw the ball in and shot it, we missed. They missed and we won. So we start celebrating and said, no, that they called timeout. Well, you couldn't call a timeout, because if you did, that's an automatic technical foul. So, I mean, no, that's one thing's wrong. So they let them take it out again, turn the clock, they took it out again. They threw it in. Oh, we took it off in the wrong spot. And they had to turn the clock back again. So they let them take it out for the 3rd time. So it's like one of those things, how many times would they let them take it out?
There was only 2 or 3 seconds?
3 seconds.
3 seconds left.
Yeah, and then a guy named...
And they had to go the length of the court.
Yep, length of
the court,
Yep.
94 feet. So they get 1 crack at it, don't score.
Get second crack at it.
Then we say we had called a timeout. So now we're going to try again. They throw it the length of the court. We bat the ball down, and then they say, nope, we took the ball out of the wrong
Exactly.
side. Now we're going to move it over here.
Exactly right. And
so now it's the third crack at it.
Third time, yep. And so they, but after the first time, people don't realize after the first time when everybody's celebrating, everybody came on, a lot of people came on the court and stuff. Henry Iba had his pocket picked, doing all that melee before the second over before they tried it for the second time.
You're kidding?
He had his pocket picked like $400. So he did. So he had his pocket picked then. So he's out there, and Henry was old. So they tried. And the third time, when they took it out again, the third time they threw it long, and their guy caught the ball and he knocked one of our guys down and made the basket.
Sure did.
And then when he made the basket, they said it was good and they win. So they end up taking it to a voting of the countries, and they took it to the voting, and I think 2 of the 3 people from voting was from Soviet Union territory type,
right.
And they ended up telling them they won the gold medal, and we won the silver. And so as we're all together in a room, all the players, the coaches weren't there, just the players, and we decided that we're not going to accept the medal. And so I said, I'm not going to accept it. I said,
who led that? Do you remember? Like who kind of stepped up and said, you know what, guys? Let me back up before you go there. Let back up for me on this one. So the game ends, and you can only imagine, like we've all been. I've been in sports. You know, you have you have these hard losses. And I've had them throughout my career as a player, coach, all that. But this one was different. One, it's your Olympics.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not like we can come back next year and play.
Exactly. You're not going to play
This
again.
is it.
Yep.
And the honor that you have as an athlete to play for your country. And you also realize how good you are, by the way, how good our team is. It's not a fluke that we're in the championship game.
Right.
It's not one of those where, hey, we got lucky and got here. No, we've kind of dominated all the way to this point, which you did. And then, and I believe, and I'll always believe, and I'm with you guys, that we got cheated. I mean, it's bad. It was one of the biggest travesties, I think, in all of sports. I do, in watching it. But game ends, and now you go from celebrating after the first try to now it's defeat.
Yeah.
And you're walking in that locker room. I mean, Ed, that has to be one of the toughest walks when you sit in that locker room with those guys.
Well, you know what? As I know for myself, when you don't lose very many games, and I don't like to lose, that was the hard part right there, because I don't like to lose, period. And I know the game was taken from us. So we're walking to the locker room, and I know that they're going to protest. We're talking about protesting because we know we got cheated. So we're in there talking and stuff, and the guys are really upset and stuff. But there's not much you can do as a player. You could have walked off after the first time, but a guy named Bill Jones came out of the stands and said he came down there and talked to Coach Iber and the guy and says, well, if you don't go back on the court, we may not invite the Americans back for the basketball for the Olympics again.
Wow.
I remember him saying that, and that's what he said to us. You don't go back. So we ended up going back. We should have just been done. The game was over with.
Right.
But we went back the third time too. So now we're in the locker room and guys are down and stuff. And so I remember we were all getting together and stuff, and we didn't know what's going to happen until the next day because that's when they're voting. So we ended up going back to the room and stuff, and that's when everybody got together. And I'm not sure who brought it up. It could have been a whole thing everybody brought up, and I'm not taking that medal. We got cheated and stuff. So we all know we got jobbed on that. So that's how it came out. So then the coaches came up and the other guys that are involved with the Olympics came up and told us that we had to go down to the ceremony so we get on the podium. We said, we're not going. Well, you have to go. Well, we're not going because we're not taking something that not belong to us. So he goes down there, and I think one guy stood on the podium for us, so we didn't go, and he didn't accept the medals. We're not taking the medals. You want the medals? We don't want the medals. It's not ours. I said, my mother taught me that you don't take what's not yours. And that's why I said, I'm not. So we didn't take the medals, and to this day, I don't know where it is. We still don't have it.
I looked it up, and I tried to do some homework because I was curious. And I don't know if this is actually accurate or not, but on the internet it says that those silver medals are sitting in a vault, I think in Zurich, Switzerland for some particular, I don't know why it'd be Zurich, Switzerland, but they're somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere, yep.
They're somewhere in Europe, and they're still sitting there. But did the coaches, were they right away like supporting the players? Like, if that's your choice, then we're in with you.
Well,
we're not taking them either. Or did they kind of like
they wanted to take it, because they're coaches,
right.
and the right thing to do. They thought, let's go get on the podium. We're saying no, we're not going. I mean, we got cheated. We know we got cheated. We're not doing it. So and they kind of got in with us, and it was okay. But there's no way. There's no way we were going to take it. I don't care what they said. We're staying away from it. We're not taking it. And after that, like every 5 years, they would ask us, "Do we want the medal?" And he says, they all have to agree on taking the medal, not just one. All guys have to agree. And there's no way I'm changing my mind. And Kenny Davis actually put in his will that nobody in his family could take the medal.
How about that?
Yeah, so I mean, that gives you an idea where we stand. I had a couple of guys later on, like Burleson and those guys. Well, I wouldn't mind having the medal. I said, you're crazy.
When I coached at NC State, Tom Burleson, I had the conversation with him, and he kind of waffled a little bit, maybe, maybe we should have.
Yeah,
but
Tom Burleson.
And he kind of was a little politician there in the western part of the state. But I could see where the players, and I tell you, Eddie, just as a basketball fan, I admire the kind of fortitude to say we're not doing it. And it's like you said, it's not ours. We deserve the gold. We won the gold.
Yeah, we did. We know we won it. If we know that they beat us outright, that's just how. I mean, I've been beat outright by in high school one time.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, but they beat us.
Yeah.
And then at UCLA when they beat us 57-55, I got fouled out, and I know I didn't make the foul. They fouled me out because Wicks and Rowe couldn't stop me, so I'm scoring. So they fouled me out. And so I knew what's happening there, but I can't say they cheated us. They won at the end. I mean, I didn't like how they won it, but they won. So, but the way it happened in the Olympics, there's no way we lost that game. We know we didn't.
Has anybody in your family ever tried to talk you into it? Like, yeah, come on, you need to take the gold.
The problem is they can't talk me into anything. That's a problem. they never tried. I think my ex-wife at the time, so I think the kids will like it. That's what I tell the kids to make the Olympic team. That's what I told
get your own.
That's what I told her.
So I've watched these documentaries, and I've seen a few throughout the years. There was a great, I don't remember who did it, but I remember watching the documentary on the whole thing. And I'm sure when those come up, the people that want to do a story and they want to talk about that, it kind of, like me here, I'm talking to you about it. I mean, it brings up some, it hurts because that's a gold medal, but there's also has to be some pride in that too, because not only did you guys as players know and the coaches know that you won, the whole world knew you won too.
Yeah.
The whole world did.
But when the thing, after he got done and we're coming back home, and I'm thinking on the way home, I said, I remember Carlos, those guys, the track guys, raising a fist up.
Yeah.
And we weren't in protest of black and white and everything like that. We were in protest we got cheated. So I'm thinking, how are they going to accept us when we go back? That's in my mind, because we didn't take the medals at all. Where they look at us like, you guys are terrible people and you protesting why. I mean, I didn't know how it's going to be taken that way. And after getting back, the people, a lot of people that saw the game agreed with us. They said, you guys did the right thing. And even to today, I see people now that come talk to me and says, I'm glad you didn't take the medal. You shouldn't. I mean, even a couple of days ago, the guy said that to me.
Well, you go here today because I think it's the right thing. And people, I looked this one up as well. People forget, too. I think the United States had won something like 63 games in a row, or we had some incredibly long streak. Up until 72.
Right, exactly
and
right.
Where we had won the gold, for so many years, every 4 years. And then all of a sudden you get into this game and the whole Russia, UCLA, or the Soviet Union, United States, the rivalry and the game, the magnitude of the game. It happened to be them. It wasn't like we're playing Italy or somebody else. It happens to be the Soviet Union. And so I would agree with you.
We didn't have our best players either. Bill Walton wasn't there. The UCLA guys just didn't go.
Well, that's because Coach Wooden didn't like it. He didn't support it all the way.
Well, you know why? Because and here's what I heard about from the guys from the Olympics. They didn't ask any coaches to coach. The coach would have to call and ask them could they coach.
Right.
And Coach Wooden wasn't going to ask them. He wasn't going to ask them. That's why. And then Swin Nader made the team, and Swin Nader quit for some reason, whatever it was. So here's our big guy in the middle. He quit. So, and then John Brown, our 6'9" guy from, I think he was from Missouri. He got hurt. He hurt his ankle, broke his ankle, so Jimmy Forbes took over. So we had a couple guys that did not make the trip. Even though we had a pretty decent team, we had other guys that should have been there.
Do you have the opportunity from time to time to either bump into some of those guys or maybe call or talk? I mean, is that group – I know, guys, there's a lot of years that have passed. What are we now, 51 years ago, I guess. But there has to be a bond, too, like certain things in sports bring us together. A lot of times winning does. I was UCLA, won a national championship, and we had great teams, great players and all that. But that championship created a bond.
Sure did, yeah.
That, you're connected forever because of something like that. Like your group is connected forever. Whether you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody that you hadn't talked to in 15 years, and it's going to be like you're talking to them. It's like you talked yesterday. Would you feel that with some of those guys?
Well, we got together for a 40-year anniversary, all the guys, and everybody was there. It was really nice. And then Dwight Jones passed away right after that, but he was there for it. And then Jimmy Forbes passed away because of the virus, so he passed away. So two of them are gone. But we got together for a 40, and that was a great time. What a great time. And a guy that wrote a book about us called Stolen Glory. He's out of Chicago, attorney out of Chicago. He wrote a book about us, and I still stay in touch with him. But I call Kenny Davis every now and then, one of the guys there. I talk to Kevin Joyce. And then I used to talk to Jimmy Forbes. He's passed away. But Doug and I used to talk, but Doug is always so busy, and I respect his time because, I don't call a lot of people. I mean, I call my friends, but I love those guys, but we just don't have a chance to talk very much because they're busy. And, so I talked to Burleson over the phone a couple of times and also McMillan. But it's hard. It's just sometimes hard to catch him.
Well, and just life. Life gets us all busy.
And Jimmy Brewer, I played against him, and we became good friends. So I know Jim Brewer real well,
Jim Brewer, when I was growing up in Ohio, he was playing for the Cavs. He was one of my favorite players back then. It was Nate Thurman and Jim Brewer and Footsie Walker and Austin Carr and Dick Snyder and all these guys. I mean, I remember them all because I was young. Jimmy Clemens, they played at Ohio State.
They could play.
That was the group. So when I was little, those were my guys.
AC was a player. He's a good guy. He's actually a pretty decent golfer too, Austin Carr.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but he's a great guy.
How did you get going in golf? I know a lot of us play and it's for the fun of it, but you got to be a really, really good golfer. Like, what was that all about for you?
Well, it was years ago, and I think it was my last year in pro ball. It hurt my back in pro ball, and that's the reason I quit. But we were at field trainees over in San Pedro. I don't know if you've ever been there. The trainees was over San Pedro, and all the guys used to go over there. It's a drinking place and restaurant. The guy now owns field trainees on Atlantic or Long Beach Boulevard in Long Beach. He came from San Pedro. So we were over there as my attorney and two other guys over at this banquet, Yugoslavian banquet. So we're drinking wine all day, and I'm not even a drinker, but I'm drinking wine with them and stuff. So finally, from noon o'clock, and finally about 7 o'clock that night, everybody's sitting around talking, everybody kind of drunk a little bit, and my attorney says, hey, how about then the guy named Lance Schaefer and another guy named Don, they're all was there. So we're going there, and he goes, how about we play tennis, golf, and basketball? You guys against George and Don. You guys against Ed and Lance. So, and the winners, the losers, I take the winners anywhere in California for dinner and their date. I'm in there. So Lance says, you play tennis? I go, what? I think I saw tennis one time on TV. He said, how about golf? I said, I don't even spell golf. I said, but we got him in basketball. He said, yeah, we had to win one more. So the next day, he takes me, I think it's next day or day after, but he takes me over to the Hartwell to teach me how to hold the club and swing the club. He gave me a couple clubs to swing. So we go to Hartwell, hit balls. And then from there, we go over to JoJo's. I don't know if you've been to JoJo's now. There's a beer joint in Long Beach. And that's a famous one that's been there since 1600 or something. It's a great place. They serve beer. They serve special sandwiches, pickled eggs, pretzels. And it really is. I mean, that's where everybody goes. It's been there for a while. So we go there afterwards after hitting balls and have pickled eggs, beer, and a sandwich. And the pickled eggs had hot peppers in there with the pretzels. So we would do that every day. And what people don't realize, if you eat hot peppers every day, so when Friday comes along, you go to use the bathroom, you don't need peppers anymore. I tell you that right now. So I never forget that. Oh, we used to laugh. No more peppers for me. But he'd teach me how to hold the club. And then after about a week and a half of teaching me how to swing the club, he said, go practice. So I went and, I want to beat everybody anyway, so I went on practice. Yeah. I mean, I practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, and after a month or a month and a half of practicing, Long Beach State had their golf tournament for the fundraiser, and so I played in that. First time I played golf. And even though I played off and on, around the city, but that's the first time I'm going to play in a tournament. So we played in this tournament, and my attorney was playing, and George Medak, his part, they're all playing, and I shoot 83 the very first time out.
Wow.
And they called the bet off.
That's it.
They called the bet off. Yeah. Because I already beat my attorney already. I've only been playing a month and a half.
Well, I know they're going to beat you. You're going to beat them in basketball.
Yeah.
So
I play all three of those guys, yeah. So, and that's how I got started. And from that point on, I was determined to I just want to get better and better. And I outworked everybody.
Ed, one of the fun things that's happened a couple years ago, you and I were at a friend of ours' house up in Pasadena, and I put my father, who's on the phone, Joe Gottfried, he's now 83, but he was a high school and a small college basketball coach. And I remember FaceTiming, and I put him on the phone, and you guys were talking, and once he figured out who you were, he rolled through your whole starting lineup. He knew every guy that played on Columbus East high school team. But what I liked what he said, and I think you'll remember, I hope you do, but I remember him saying to you that when he had these young players, especially the young black players in Ohio at the time, he told you this, he said, I told my players all the time, watch him, watch that guy right there. That's how you have to learn how to play. And it was such a compliment that in his mind, and he didn't know you at the time. No. But when he watched you play basketball, he wanted his players to emulate you. How about that? Isn't that crazy?
Well, I was brought up to try to play the game right, and I was very fortunate. I had some good coaches at the time and showed me how to play. And so it's one of the things I love to score, but I love to win more. Mm-hmm. So it didn't matter if I scored or but I wanted to win. Excuse me. So I remember in junior high school, we were playing. There's a book called Tigerland. I don't know if you read it. I told you about Tigerland. And the guy that wrote The Butler wrote this book, Tigerland, about my high school. And it's about the 60s. And it tells about, I won't say a history book, but it's about the 60s, how you grew up black in the 60s back in Ohio, and how parents came up from Mississippi and Alabama, came up north to get away from all the slavery and crazy stuff down there. Mm-hmm. So he wrote this book. And he says in junior high school, I met the guy that did it too, but we were playing a team in junior high school, and in 8th grade, I was 6'4". Give you an idea how tall I was, 8th and 9th grade, I was 6'4". And we were going to play this team, and the coach was saying it, but the kid came in and talked to me afterwards. He's a grown man now, but he says, they're going to play our team, and the coach says, all I want you to do is I want you to foul that Ratliff. Just keep bumping him and keep hitting him, keep bumping him, because nobody's ever can stop him. But if we bump him, maybe get him out of his game. So I want your job is to make sure you knock him around, be rough on him. And so when they come over to play us that day of the game, and they says, oh, yeah, there's Ratliff right there. Well, the kid's about 5'8", 5'9". I'm seeing I'm not touching him. The guy tells you, he says, "No, I'm sorry, coach, I'm not touching him." So that's what happened in next grade. So that was one of the funny stories. But yeah, you get things like that as you go along. You meet different guys as you play with, and it's always fun to talk to the fellow players that you played against.
Well, Ed, I've got great respect for you. I've enjoyed getting to know you as a friend. I appreciate you coming today. But you are, and your group of guys, with what you accomplished, it'll never be forgotten. It'll never be forgotten. And you made America proud. You made America proud.
Very lucky. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
It was my pleasure. I'm glad,
All right,
glad you stayed with me.
You got it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.